Hello, welcome to CarCast. I'm Matt, the moderator, DeAndrea. Got a very special show today. We got Larry Webster. He's the editor-in-chief at Hagerty Media. It's been a while, but welcome to the show. How are
Hey,
you?
Matt, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Uh, let's talk a little bit about Hagerty for a minute here, because Hagerty, my gosh, has really kind of changed and evolved and grew into this big, impressive monster of a company over the last decade. It went from just insurance, although you still maintain one of my favorite online tools ever. It is the price evaluation tool.
Evaluation tools. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I've been there a decade, so thank you, Matt. It's all thanks to me, obviously, in the last
that's what they
decade.
told me. That's what they
Yeah.
how they set it up. Like your team reached out, and they're like, "Yeah, thanks to
No,
Larry."
it's not it at all. Because it's a really fun company. It's a company of enthusiasts built for enthusiasts, and it's all about helping folks, especially now, insure, buy, sell, enjoy their cars. And it's totally evolved from just it was a company that insured your special vehicles, the stuff you didn't drive every day. And they figured out that they could, uh, the main thing was that people took care of their cars. And therefore, when something happened, Hagerty could jump in and they could get it fixed and whatever it was, great service. And that just really took off. And that was really the bedrock of the company. And then it's sort of evolved into other things. Like now there's a great marketplace. There's obviously the media arm that I run. We do a magazine. We do YouTube. We're on social, on our website, and now there's events and concours and a live auction thing with Broad Arrow. So it's just sort of encompassed the whole car world.
Yeah. Um, talk
Well,
about
actually, to serve the whole car world is a better way to say it.
talking a bit about that evolution. I know this isn't under your watch, but the the uh, the marketplace. I
Yeah,
mean, that has just seemed to grow and grow. Like it seems to be
yeah,
doing well, and also just some really cool, interesting cars and stuff as well. If you guys scroll
yeah.
around through it.
Yeah, it's been really great. One of those things because with the ecosystem that we work in, we know what cars are out there, and the real idea is to offer our members something, a way to connect and transact cars between themselves. Because that's what you do is when you're a member of an organization. So there's classifieds on there that are free for Hagerty Drivers Club members, and then there's also auctions and things like that. And it's been growing really fast. I don't know if you saw this thing. Did you hear about the Generous collection?
No.
Yeah, there was a guy in Alabama that had, I think he's got like 900 cars.
Wow.
And he owns a company, a business in Alabama, and he would employ a lot of the people. And so he's a big, person in the community. And when they needed extra money, they would come to him. And it turned into like he would just buy their cars as a way to, help them out. And he collected hundreds and hundreds of cars, and now he just wants to get rid of them. So they just had like I don't know how, it was hundreds of cars were sold all no reserve. And there's another batch going up next spring. And in the meantime, there's a huge collection that just closed of the David Glenn Porsche collection. He was the engine builder that built the Yellowbird 911 motor from Roof. And so he had a bunch of stuff. So yeah, there's all these connections are finding this great stuff that they're able to offer on the marketplace. So it's worthwhile to check it out and at least sign up for the newsletter.
You know, so this guy was just buying up everyone's cars that needed money, but with no real plan for resale. He wasn't a wholesaler. He wasn't going to auction.
Nope.
He wasn't doing any of that, huh?
No, and we did there's a barn find hunter video that Tom Cotter did of the thing. So you can go and meet the guy and you can see the warehouses on warehouses on warehouses in Alabama. He's got all this stuff. It's amazing.
Taking a quick look at Marketplace, you guys can go up there as well. It's the Hagerty.com/marketplace, and you can see all of the cool cars and stuff up there that are for sale. Is it all auction? There's classifieds and
No,
there's an auction format, right?
yeah, there's classifieds as well. And if you're a Hagerty Drivers Club member, you can list for free. And then there's also the auction. So it's both.
Yeah, I see this Triumph TR6. Uh, over at Adam Kroll's collection, we've got the Paul Newman and TR6 in that collection.
Was that a Tullius car? Was that a Group
Yeah, it
44?
was a Bob Tulius car as well. I think it
No
was a champion.
way.
It was a champion. It was the same car was both of their championship cars, But if you
Wow.
see that car, it's black and silver. So
Oh,
for just a handful of seasons, Newman didn't run like with Bob Sharp and whatever. And so the black and silver cars are his personal livery cars.
oh,
And
wow.
it's one of his championship cars. So we bought that car from Bill Warner, who is an amazing
Oh,
guy. I
yeah.
love Bill.
Yeah.
Uh, and he was just looking to make a change in the collection, and we always said we just wanted that car.
Yeah.
And I think he loved it more as the Bob Tullius car, but for us and for Adam in that collection, it needed to be back to the Paul Newman car because of Adam's Paul Newman collection. Um, but
Where do
yeah.
you where can you see the movie you guys did, the documentary on that stuff, the Woody one?
So
That
the
was really
doc,
good, by the way.
yeah, thank you. The documentary, I believe, is streaming online in a number of places. And our own website is Chassis Media, I believe. It should be still chassis.com. It's CHASSY, chassis.com. And you can still go and buy and watch all the movies there, all the documentaries, right? All of our, um,
They're fun to make, aren't they?
Willie T. Ribb stories, Shelby
Oh yeah,
American,
love that one.
Willie's great. So you can get them all there. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that. But the cars are almost all the cars. I think 12 or 13. I think 13 of the Paul Newman cars are in the Reno Automotive Museum right
Oh,
now,
amazing. Yeah.
along with some memorabilia, some racing suits and helmets and stuff like that.
Wow.
When we were picking up those cars, there was just things like a lot of the cars were just like kind of in pieces and in boxes. It was like before the movie, we just wanted to get a handful of these things. And I remember
Sure.
one of the cars coming with like a giant rolling toolbox, like a track box. And I think just on the bottom drawer, because it was just all junk and tools and stuff scattered. The bottom drawer down there was just kind of folded up, was this blue racing suit, and it happened to be a Paul Newman racing suit. So
Oh wow.
it's just kind of a bonus, I guess,
Yeah.
back in the day when you could trade that kind of stuff.
It's amazing. I've been racing for 30 years and I've noticed that I'm slowing like a little bit, a couple tenths. And Newman raced competitively. He was like 72. Is that right? How old was he?
Yeah, so I think he was in the car up until
82.
82
That's what it
years
was.
old. Yeah,
Oh,
82 years old. And what you'll notice is up in his later years, he thought it would be fun to run his car with the number that was his age. So he was
yeah.
80, he was, and then one of the races he was in, the number was taken. I don't know if it was 80 or 79 or 80, 81, but uh, somebody was out there with like car number 80 and they're like, you can't have car number 80. And normally they're like, you got to tape it off, you got to make it 88 or something, like something you can make
Sure.
it into. And I guess they were just like, it's Paul Newman, we didn't really care. So he had 80, and then in tape he wrote a little +1 on the bottom of it in the side of
Mm,
on the
funny.
door. So he's like, yeah, it's couldn't get 81, so I got
Mm.
80 +1 to be his year. But uh
So you never
yeah,
know what's
so
out there, and that's why it's fun. We have people out in the car world all the time. That's why we hear of these things like the Generous Collection and other things, and that's why we have a whole series dedicated. It's called the Barn Find Hunter. Like you never know what's out there. And that by the way, that series is 10 years old still. We
yeah.
still find incredible stuff.
So I wanted to talk about that. So Hagerty now,
Yeah.
this isn't new. We're a decade into this, with you.
Hagerty's actually 40 years old.
Yeah, but with you running on the
Oh, the
content
media.
side, the
Yeah.
media side of it, um, I'm going to bring up some of it, but let's talk about it. What's going on the Hagerty media side?
Yeah, the big stuff right now this month is every month is something we call the bull market list. And this is something that we talk about once a year, where you talked about it before. We have this great valuation team, so you can get all these car values on Hagerty.com, historical values, what cars are worth. And one day I called the guy who runs it and asked him, "Hey, you think we can figure out like what cars might be worth in the future?" And to my great surprise, Matt, he's like, "Yeah, I think we do that." And so that's how we started the bull market. And the idea was always like, hey, how can you buy one of these cars, own them for a short amount of time, and then sell them without really losing that much. It's almost like having the car for free.
Yeah.
And it was really successful. This was sort of an outgroup of what you call a group test in the car magazine world, right? And it did really well online. We get a lot of other people pick it up, and so we've been doing it 9 years. There's actually also a video, so that's our big news for December for sure. This will take up a lot of the things because there's just a lot of interest in what to buy and car values, as you know. So it's worked really well.
Do you want to go through it? Let's go through the
Yeah,
list. Let's go
yeah.
through the list. I'm gonna bring it up as well for you guys up on YouTube. So we'll take a
Yeah,
look
it's
at
on the
this.
website on Hagerty.com/media. Oh, there you go. And it's also, we covered a lot on the social channels, and it's also we got an episode on our Hagerty YouTube. But
So these could be future collectors, things that you guys think are either going up in value or maybe there was a dip in value, so now is the right time to buy.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so and it's going to be an interesting mix of cars from inexpensive to actually very expensive. So
Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad you said that because we really try and make sure there's something for everybody. You notice there's a lot of different eras. It's kind of easy to, you could just say, well, oh, any really interesting car that's 30 years old is probably going to go up, right? Because it reached the bottom of the depreciation curve. But what we try and do is look at those anomalies throughout the market. So there's stuff at different eras and different price points.
Adam and I would talk about this all the time in that a good kind of rule of thumb would be look at look at what's going off at big money at the auctions, and is there a little brother?
Yeah,
Is there a Gullwing Mercedes, and then
yeah,
is there a 190?
yep.
And go, oh, maybe that's the one you
Maybe.
want to look at.
You
Like,
know, it's hard because we just put an article. We do a lot of we have a special section on our site called the Insider, and that's all of our valuation and sort of market research and things like that. And we were just looking at the Honda S2000 CR,
yeah,
right? And the CR is worth way, way more than a regular S2000.
right,
And so the little brother analogy is kind of tough, you know? Maybe a better way to say, like, okay, how old people, like right now, are in the middle of the greatest wealth transfer, right? The boomers are passing their dollars to the next generation. And a
yeah.
lot of it's like my generation, Gen X. And that generation's hitting 55 and 60. So what did they covet? They covet cars in high school, and that's the 80s, the Radwood
Yeah,
era.
or 80s and 90s cars.
80s and 90s. And
Yeah.
that's what we see a lot of for sure.
When you look at the aftermarket as well, you go to like the SEMA show and you think about all of the cars, like every Gen 1, Gen 2 Mustang, Camaros, all of those things that were getting built. And then yes, like, the the kids, the high school kids from the 80s and 90s were going, well, what was I driving? And now
Yeah,
that, I'm a real life adult, and I've maybe made some money in my career,
that's
and
right. Yeah.
so when I reach out to some hot rod builders, and then you start seeing guys like Troy Trepanier and stuff going, we're gonna do a Camaro, we're gonna do an 89 or 90 Camaro, we're gonna do the IROC or something, like.
Like instead of a T bucket or something like that. Is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
yeah, or
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
another 65 Mustang or whatever,
Oh, yep, yep.
going, oh, sure, everybody loves a 69 Camaro, but that's not what I grew up with. I grew up
Yeah.
with, my first car was an 87 Camaro,
It's an
you know.
IROC.
Yeah, so um
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, remember, SEMA used to be filled with, remember the sport compact craze?
yeah.
That kind of came and went. It's almost funny. It's coming back now, right? Because that was when they were new, and now a lot of those CRXs and things that just disappeared are back and pretty valuable.
Yeah,
So
and
it goes in cycles.
and you were talking about marketplace. It's like every once in a while something will pop up and it'll be like the best of the best, the low mile mint
Yeah,
condition, and you're like, "Oh my God, somebody took an Integra Type R and got,
yeah,
$180,000 for it." And then over the next 6 weeks you see like 30 Integra Type R's pop up on. Everyone's
totally.
like, "Oh my gosh, maybe I should sell mine.
I
Let me
got to
see what's
cash in.
there." Yeah,
Yeah,
I got to ride that wave. And
yeah,
it's not, but that's kind of what we're talking about with your list, with the bull
yeah,
list, right?
yeah. I mean, one of the things that they do is they're not just tracking the price data and sale data, but they're also looking at like, okay, how many people are calling in to get an insurance quote on a particular car? Did
Yeah.
it grow year over year? how many people are calling in and asking to have their agreed value raised on a particular car. And what does that mean? So there's a whole big suite of data that they use for the like, I don't know, 2 million plus phone calls that we get every year to try and color this. And then there's like a whole team of folks who've been doing this for decades. So
Yeah.
there's data, and then there's interpreting the data, and then there's making some decisions. And then, by the way, every year we go back and look at our report card. How do we do?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that next, but we'll get
Always.
that toward the end here. All
And
right, let's take a look
yeah,
at the list. Let's take a look at the list
sure.
and go through. We'll just cruise through some of these cars. You can figure out how much time you want to spend on.
Well,
Some.
what was the most exciting thing on the list to you? Was there anything that jumped out like, damn, that's a good car. I should jump on that.
Well, I don't know if it's that or as much as is just sort of a confirmation. Like certainly I was waiting. I was waiting for like the 454 SS, the truck to show up
Oh yeah.
on like an official list. I have a 95 Ford Lightning and I have some Fox
Oh,
body Mustangs and stuff. So
got it.
that one like Cyclone and Typhoon,
Yeah.
excuse me. That's probably, I don't know, maybe that's already been on the list, but because those were starting to really get some pretty decent money.
Yeah, for sure.
And and the rest of us are going, yeah, but what about the Lightning? What about the 454 SS? Like, what about those
Yep.
trucks? And
We had
what are they
the
associated
V10
with?
Ram on there with
The
the six
V10
stroke.
Ram, it's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what's the average value of the 454? It's somewhere in the 30s, right?
Yeah.
So
But it wasn't that long ago. It was probably eight.
totally. Yeah. So yeah, how much room is there left? That's a great question, but it was never like we're trying to make sure to say, look, if you're in this to invest in it, it's not what we're about. We want to show you how much fun you can have for how little money. And there's not a lot of risk in it. It's a store of value.
Let's talk about this first one on the list, the Dodge Charger, the
Oh, isn't that so
68 to
cool?
70 Dodge Charger. This one
Yeah.
I bring up specifically that catches my attention because this is a car that went up in value and is seeing a dip in the
Yep.
market, I believe. And
Yep.
that's what makes this thing a very interesting buy right now.
Totally. One of the things that our valuation people point out was that 52% of the owners right now, at least the ones we know, they're Gen X and younger. So that means the fastest growing segment in sort of like who's getting into the car market are buying these things. So we think that's a real positive nudge for them being more valuable.
I think so too. And I mean, they're, you know, these these cars, I think they demand a little bit of research. When you're getting into the 60s and 70s muscle car era, especially
Oh
the
my God.
60s highs, like there's just
Yeah.
so many small little variations and it's you could see something like a Charger and go, "Oh man, this seems expensive." But is it numbers matching? Was there an engine swap? What was the spec on it? And something about the American muscle cars especially like the auction companies, all of them included, by the way. The auction companies, if you're selling muscle cars, they love to go as to the finite details. You're like,
Yeah.
this is the Charger and it's the manual, but this is the only one, that had, a 411 gear in it. And people are
Yep.
like, okay, so now we're really just getting to the build sheet and just figuring out exactly like, this is one of seven that had this certain gear ratio or
Yeah.
this, or like it could be something really silly. Like this one had the factory replacement fuel pump because there was an issue and they only made 100 of these like so muscle cars especially, excuse me, I find if you're getting into that area for the first time, it helps to talk to somebody that is a specialist with those cars. If you're not talking to one of the car specialists at the auction company, you need to talk to somebody that knows about these cars.
I think that is a great piece of advice because I agree 1,000%. Like, you don't want this trim package, you want that trim package. Oh, okay.
Right.
And it's hard to keep them all straight because they change them so often, right? To keep them fresh year over year. So, yeah, that's a really good point. The one thing that I will point out, though, they list the valuation tools lift different values at different conditions because it's all about the condition of the car. Okay, so
Right.
top of the market's 100 grand, but then you get something with not original parts. or it's had some work done on it, and that's a 40 or $50,000 car. And you really get that experience without spending all the crazy money. If if you're at least not a stickler for that originality, which I'm not. I'm always after the experience. I mean, I don't show cars. I just like to drive them. So I'm kind of a bottom feeder in that regard. And that's what's cool about these. Because can you think of a better looking 60s muscle car than the Charger?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, as cool as it was kind of on the big side.
Yeah, they're big.
Like you park it next to a Gen 1 Camaro or Mustang. You're like, God, this thing's huge.
Yeah, you know what's fun about this, Matt? The woman who owned it, and her name was Sherry, and she'd bought it. It was 2 years old. She made her dad buy it as her first car. Had it ever since. Loves it, loves it, loves it.
Yeah.
Barely get out of her sight. So that's one of the fun parts about doing this exercise is you get to meet a lot of the owners, and so many car people out there, as I know you know. That's a cool one.
Yeah. Okay. So moving down the list, we've got uh, the next one on the list is Mazda. We're looking at 1999 through 2005 Mazda MX-5, the Miata.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a personal favorite. I have three NA Miatas, the first gen. In terms of dollar per smiles and everything, there's nothing better. This is the second gen. We're finally seeing these start to catch up. They're still like, I mean, you've driven these cars, right?
I have. I had one.
They're so good. They're
I
so
had one
good.
for for like a year or something. It was like a friend had it and was like moving out of town and didn't know what to do
Yeah.
with the car. And they're like, here, just take it for a while. And it needed a little work, but excuse me, it was super fun to drive.
They're super durable. I mean, the Miata is Mazda's moonshot. It's like Toyota's Prius. Like they engineered every freaking millimeter of that thing just as well as they could. And it just shows they're so intuitive. You get a real feel for what it's like to be what's happening at the contact patch. And I like these cars because it's a lot of times it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than to drive a fast car slow. And especially these roads, what's happening in traffic, and these cars, you can take them to red line, and you're not going to be risking a ticket. And they're still like crazy cheap. I mean, they're well under 20 grand for a really nice one. So I can't say enough about Miatas. I think they're killer.
If you ever get into any sort of racing, the Mazda
Yep.
Miata is a great place to start. And there's so much support from the dealers and the manufacturer in that regard on this. And you're
Yeah.
right. Like you want to you want to hit like you're in California, you want to hit like Angeles Crest or something, and you
Yeah.
don't want to die, but you want to have fun. Like this is
Yeah.
a great car to do it in.
It's a great car, and there's so many parts for it. My favorite recipe for these is the suspension. They're a little bit soft from the factory, but they're nice because the ride quality is good. So one thing I do to all my Miatas is I don't change the spring rate, but I change the shock absorbers. I just put straight up Coney yellows on them, and I've done that on a couple cars. It just tightens it up just enough, but it still keeps that compliance in there. And they're just sharp and fun and fluid, and you feel like you're wearing a dancing shoe. Awesome
You,
cars.
and changing the shocks, that's a good point. There's so
Yeah.
much support in the aftermarket
Yeah,
for
lots
the
of them.
Miata. Like there really is anything you could ever need for that car, you can get for that car. And as a lot of people that get them as they are fixing things that need attention over time is a
Yeah,
chance to do an upgrade to it, right?
totally.
There's usually like a slightly more interesting or better performing version of that part.
Yeah, and then not they are durable, but of course every car needs maintenance. I have not found a car that's easier to work on than Miatas.
Yeah.
And everything bolts together. It's not like you're fitting stuff, and then there's so many used stuff out there. If by chance you screw something up, the worst case is a motor, and you can get one for like an almost new one for 2 grand all day.
Right.
So like there's kind of no risk, and so it's a great way to learn the DIY skills and all that stuff. And then like you said, you can upgrade if you want.
All right, so moving on to the list, this is kind of interesting. So now you've got the 1956, the 1957, the Continental
Right.
Mark II. And
Amazing.
this is interesting because I just talked to Chip Foose about the car he built at SEMA. And I I believe he did a 56 Continental.
Did he really? Yeah.
and he turned it into a roadster. So there's no top on it.
I mean, yeah, look at that shot, right? We tried to make it like we this car invoked this kind of JFK era to us, even though it was before it, but it still had that kind of Mad Men feel, right? Remember 56, 57, everybody was tail friend crazy. And here comes
Yeah.
out this Lincoln that's not that. It's really a little bit understated in lines, but this car was supposed to be the American Rolls Royce. It wasn't called the Lincoln, it was called the Continental. And they were 10,000 bucks new
Yeah.
in 1956, which is kind of crazy.
Expensive back then, right?
Expensive,
Expensive. Yeah. Here,
but
as you guys pointed out, that's $120,000 today.
totally. But we think this is one of those rare special cars, 2 years only, and we're seeing some signs that there's a great interest or more appreciation for how unique a machine it is. How about that?
I think it's a cool car. And I think it's a very kind of uh, classic looking. I think it would be fun to drive. Definitely not winning any races, but this is just meant to be, like you said, the American Rolls Royce. So it's meant to be very luxurious.
So the funny thing about this car from Russ, 37% of the owners, no surprise, are over 70 years old, right?
Yeah, not
So over a
surprised.
third. But the under 50-year-old share is up from 11% to 16%. It's growing. So the
Okay.
folks under share, they're growing. So they're passing the cars around. So we think there was a fairly good drop from 2020 to 2022, like a 25% drop in value, but we think it's flattened out and it's sort of starting a little bit of a slower. Again, you're not going to get rich buying this car,
Yeah.
but you can buy it and own it, especially if it's a good one, and just move on. It's a very interesting car.
Next on the list, of course, is the Chevrolet, the 454 SS, the truck, the 1990 to 1993, the
I
big
mean,
block
everybody's
truck.
got to have a big block, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the two-door standard cab, short bed,
Yeah.
big block in it. Just a
Have you
just
ever
a
driven one of
cool.
these?
I'm trying to think if I've driven the 454. If I had, it was probably back when they were newish, probably a few years
Yeah.
old. It would have been late 90s I drove it, but
Yeah.
I don't recall. No.
So it's like the muscle car formula. It's the
Yeah.
lightest, smallest body with the biggest motor.
Yeah.
And, if you I mean, you've driven late 60s muscle cars. They drive like
Sure.
trucks anyway. So
Yeah.
you might as well have a truck.
Might as well get the truck version, right? The one that can actually haul and tow stuff. Listen, I even my Lightning in 95, you
Oh,
buy
that's a
that
pretty
truck
car.
and they're not rack and pinion steering or anything. So, I mean, it's just so sloppy. You can move that, steering wheel back and forth 6 inches before the car even turns,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's on the S10, right?
Uh,
Yeah,
no,
the Cyclone's on the small
yeah,
pickup.
that's
Yeah.
Cyclone. The Lightning was the Ford. That's the
Oh, the
F-150.
Ford.
So
Sorry.
yeah, that's the F-150. So, uh, I think all of these, the 454 SSs, they were all black. They all had like the red
Yeah.
interior.
Yep. Yeah, they're
Uh,
cool. You could
you
see
know,
Dale Earnhardt driving one for sure, couldn't you?
Absolutely you could. Yeah, absolutely you could. Excuse me. All right.
So this is your favorite on your list. Let's go to the next one.
All right.
This is my favorite.
This is the 2006 through 2013 Corvette Z06.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree. This is such a great car. Talk about another car like the Miata where there's just so many parts, so many modifications, so many things you can do to this car. You could get in this thing and have an absolute performance home run right out of the box
yeah.
or modify it to your heart's desire.
I mean, this car, I remember I was on the launch, the sixth generation Z06, and I couldn't ask the engineers enough questions. I was so curious. It's basically an LS kind of style block, 7 liters, right?
Yeah.
And it revs to, I want to say 7,000-ish RPM, has titanium connecting rods. And no turbos, no nothing, 505 horsepower. The throttle response on these things is like it's like you're in a Tesla. I can't believe I'm comparing it to that, but I mean the immediacy of it is just it's like it's such a live wire car. And I did a lot of I was a car and driver when this thing came out, and I drove these things all over the place, and I just couldn't believe this is a production car now, I mean, you can get one of these for 40, 50 grand.
Yeah.
And what are you going to touch for that? I mean, the average price of a new car is $48,000. Like, you want to get a Camry for 34,000 or 38,000 or a Z06 Corvette? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
crazy.
You'd be hard pressed to find something as great a performer and as much fun to drive for that price range.
Oh, and they
Yeah.
sound insane. They're manual gearboxes. They upgraded the interior from the C5 to the C6, so it's a little bit nicer. The other thing is they shrunk this car. This is actually smaller dimensions than the C5 that it replaced because they wanted to sell it in Europe. And so a lot of the ills of the C5 they address with this car. And what I love about the Corvette is, you've talked to those guys who work on the Corvette and they have to stay with that program. Like every generation, this car does something you just never expected, and they always make it better, right?
Hmm.
As much as I love the C7, that's my favorite, but the C6 is like just crazy, especially for the money. So
Yeah.
I think, I mean, that engine is it was in the Camaro, I think, for a short bit. It was in the Corvette, but then it went away. So that's what
Yeah.
I think is what one of these cars is going to be something to hold on to for sure.
And this car, it was dry sump. It had dry sump oiling
That dry
system. And
sump
then
engine. Yeah.
I think you could buy at the time you could buy the engine in the Chevy Performance catalog.
Yep.
Or
You could.
maybe it was wet sump in the
It was
Performance catalog.
$15,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Um,
Crazy.
okay. Uh, all right, let's do this. Before we jump to the next car, let's take a quick break and
Sure.
we'll be right back.
All right.
Okay, we're back and going through this Hagerty bull list that I think
We call it the bull market.
the bull market. There you go, the bull market. So the next one on this list, this one's an interesting car to me. This is an Alfa Romeo. Now, I'm a
Yep.
bit of an Alfa Romeo fan. I've had Alfa Romeo Spiders like
Yeah.
91, 92.
Yep.
And growing up, my dad had some early ones like a Graduate and stuff. And
Yep.
so I always kind of like them.
Yep.
Slow, but fun and
Mhm.
sharp looking and just a fun little convertible. But this is a 69 to 72 Alfa Romeo, the GTV.
Mhm.
Honestly, I don't know a lot about the street car versions, but this is a great little race car in race trim.
Mhm.
Um, Adam Kroll's raced against these many times in some of his smaller Datsuns, like his Datsun Roadster. Just a cool all around car.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that are attractive about this car. The two ones are, to me, they wanted a practical car with a rear seat, and they had Giugiaro draw it, and they're gorgeous. I mean, they are freaking gorgeous. It's like you wanted a little Italian sedan. This is what you picture, in my view. I mean, they're just beautiful little, well-proportioned things. And then the second thing is, by the 70s and 80s, of course, Alfa Romeo started getting a reputation for poor reliability. But in the early days, they were crazy durable. And this
Yeah,
twin cam motor had been around for a while, and th this is a brilliant engine. It's aluminum engine, 5-speed gearbox. This is in 1969. Revs like crazy, loves revving. It's got enough power and torque. It's really smooth. Again, one of those things simple to work on. You want to learn how to tune carbs. This is a good car to get. So I don't know. I mean, the only weird thing is if you've ever been in one of these, the driving position is a little weird. Like the early Italian cars is the steering wheels are pretty far away
yeah,
and the pedals are up, so it is a little bit awkward, but you can fix all that. And again, there's huge aftermarket support for these. You can tune them and modify them. And they made almost 50,000 of them, like around 45,000. So just a lot to be said for just the overall goodness of these cars. They just offer a lot. The big thing that really like woke up a lot of us to these cars, I think it's a forgotten car in a lot of respects. And 912s, Porsche 912s, the
yeah,
four-cylinder 911, they're worth like tens of thousands of dollars more, which to us is like, wait, what? And we know there's like Porsche fetish out the wing yang, and I
yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
Porsches, but that just didn't seem to make sense to us. And then we thought, okay, well, some of the other things that we were seeing suggested the GTV is finally getting its due.
Yeah. Now, did they do an aluminum body version, GTA?
I think that was before that's, and they also had like a step nose, which was even earlier, or it was step down. So yeah, they did a lot of things. Of course, these cars were pretty successful in the under 2.5 liter Trans Am series. They raced them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just
And,
great,
and
great
and
cars.
you're right, that twin cam engine, that engine has been the same up into the 90s. It got a little more displacement over
Totally.
the
Yeah.
years, but and it got fuel injection,
Yep.
eventually.
Yep.
But uh but yeah, just so the engine's been around forever, like again, slight variations of the engine,
Right.
but also a good looking engine. It's a good looking
Beautiful.
little engine
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
cam cover and stuff on it. So it's a cool piece. I'm glad to see this car on the list.
Yeah, me too.
Um, all right, now this is an interesting one. The next one on the list, we're looking at the 2006 to 2007 BMW M5.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
love this car. I love the V10 in it, but also I'm very aware of its maintenance issues.
Yeah.
Like it sounds great,
Yep.
and if you do an exhaust on it, a little aftermarket exhaust, it sounds almost like an F1 car, like it just
Yep.
whines. It's good, but be prepared to turn some wrenches.
Well, I mean, I think you're going to be prepared to pay somebody else to turn some wrenches because
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch this thing for nothing. I mean, you want to go to the specialists that really know because I think it's the cam phasers and even main bearings, main crankshaft bearings that go bad. But you got a 500 horsepower V10 that revs to almost 7,800 RPM. I mean, what do you think? That's going to be free? Of course not. I mean, it's a crazy high performance engine. This is when BMW was in F1. And, always consider them a powertrain company, one of the best engine companies around. And for all the reasons you said, these are just very, it's a very exciting experience to drive one.
Now, excuse me, you're looking at the valuations based on different conditions of the car.
Yeah,
This is the one on the list where I say get the best one you can afford. Absolutely, get the best one
yeah.
you can afford. Like if you were gonna get into the Miata and you were gonna turn it into a race car, or you wanted to do a little restoration project, and parts are fairly inexpensive, you know, you could have some fun with that because you're going to be modifying it. This one, I think you just get the cleanest one you can afford, spend the money on it.
Yeah, what's interesting is you could get, it's one of the rare cars with a sedan with a V10, you could get a stick shift in.
Yeah.
They didn't make a lot in them. The SMG, is an automated single clutch manual. It's not that bad in this car as in some of the others. It's not so clumsy. And so that sometimes is the SMG and the computer controlled shifting prevents the owner from doing something dumb, like downshifting totally and things like
Yeah.
that. There is a little bit more insurance, but I couldn't agree more. You want to see all the records. You want to make sure this thing is vetted, and anything that's been done could. The funny thing is 10% of the 8,800 M5s that BMW sold in the US have since been exported out.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's like a worldwide car. This is some of the things that people are waking up to just how special it is.
I would say just for the fun factor and the reliability factor, if you had an opportunity, you spend the extra money, you get the manual transmission. I,
Totally.
I, I don't think the
It's rare.
SMG, I don't think that's the way to go on this car. But
Probably not, but not a bad substitute just because the manuals are hard to find and
yeah.
they're a lot more expensive.
Yeah, you'd be paying for it for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so next on the list, 81 through 93 Dodge Ram Charger.
This one surprised you, didn't it? Or not?
I was surprised to see it on the list, but now that I see it on the list, I get it. And I had one of these moments where, in the 80s, I like my brother and I went with my dad, and he's like, I don't know, it's like maybe we get a truck, and there's a guy in the neighborhood that's selling one, and we test drove one of these from just like a neighbor, and it was a kid, uh, I was maybe 10 or something like that, mid 80s, and going, let's go for a ride in this thing. And I remember
Yeah.
that. And I remember a giant hood ornament. I, just-
The Ram one, yeah.
as a kid, but, um, yeah, tell me
So
why you
here's
guys
what
like
we're
this.
thinking. I mean, you've seen just vintage SUVs in general are going up, right? The Cherokees, the square body Blazers, the OJ Broncos, things like that. And this car hasn't really followed. But some of the things that we've noticed is that the share of people under 50 that are owners of these things is double the average of all our Hagerty clients. So we're seeing a much younger generation get interested in these things. And of course, they have that kind of two-tone look. You don't see them everywhere, so there's that sort of like unique factor that we think is playing into this. So it's one of those great. Well, I think you were talking about this at the beginning of the show, where you see the top model go crazy. It does tend to the rising tide does kind of lift all boats in a way, and that's really the story of the Ram Charger.
I think this is also one of those trucks that, we're seeing the Blazers and we're seeing
Yeah.
Broncos pop up and we're starting to see them get modified at SEMA. We're starting to see the aftermarket companies like a Velocity Restorations going, oh, we'll sell you a turnkey version. It's nostalgic, but if you can get it with working air and rack and pinion steering and a
Yep.
custom chassis and, give us 250 grand and we'll make it turnkey for you, which
Isn't that crazy? 250 grand.
I
It's
know,
crazy is the
right?
wrong word, but I mean,
Yeah.
wow, that's a lot of money.
It is. It's a lot of money. But I think this will give this a few years, and I think this will end up on that list. I think
So
those
you agree
companies.
with this? You agree with this choice?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
good.
this is gonna do it. Here's the wait. Where's the hood ornament? Where's the
I
big?
know. It's down there on the right. It's a
There it
monster.
is.
I'd buy it
Yeah,
just for that.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just remember seeing it as a kid. I'm like, God, it's huge.
Yeah, no pedestrian impact safety worries there, huh?
Yeah, right. Um, okay, so then we're gonna go. All right, so the next one on the list, this one doesn't surprise me, just how hot this market is right now. I mean, you got the Miata, but talking about, where Japanese cars have gone.
Yeah.
You guys have the 95 to 98 Skyline GTR.
Yeah. R33.
Yeah,
Which we think the R34 went pretty crazy. There's enough of these out there now that they're, over 25 years old. You can bring them in, and so people are doing it. So this is one of the ones we think that's in between generations of the Skyline because the Skyline's been around for decades.
yeah,
And I don't know if you can. I can't keep all the R34, R32, R33. I can't really keep them all that straight because a lot of them look the same. But this thing's still quite powerful. Still four-wheel drive. It has a lot of the technology and the whiz bang stuff that I think people like. And so that's why we think there's, growing interest in this actual generation. It's one of those, it's been, we think, undervalued, and that's about to change.
have you driven one of these?
Yeah,
You have, because people love them so much, certainly
yeah,
for what they represent and just kind of how cool they are, and they look good.
yeah.
I just can't really get like a good straight answer from, an objective answer on how do they drive. Does it drive like that Ram Charger?
Oh no, these are one of those cars that they're smooth and they're composed. You have this really exhilarating turbo hit, but the car feels really like an extension of you. Like you can drive it right up to the limit with a lot of confidence. And you can tell the best and the brightest at Nissan spent their time perfecting this car. I mean, this was their halo car, and it feels like it. So I wish they were left-hand drive, by the way. I
Yeah.
mean, that'd be a lot easier. I mean, I can drive the right-hand cars, and a lot of people doesn't bother them. But for me, if I was really going to own one, if they made this left-hand drive, I would own one for sure, 1,000%.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's cool. It's a good looking car. I mean, certainly ahead of its time, way ahead of its time.
Well, the looks are kind of weird because the Skyline was like Nissan's sport coupe, and then they added all this stuff onto it to make it the GTR. So it doesn't really, it has still a reasonable back seat and a good trunk and all these things that you don't really expect, but it's a supercar all day.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, you
All
probably
right.
see a ton of them by you in LA, don't you?
We do see a few. I mean, there's a handful of people that have them in collections now. Like you said, they're starting to notice them. You can bring them
Yeah,
here now, because of the whatever the rule, the 25-year rule. So you can bring them here, and people are getting them dialed in. So yeah, yeah. Just a couple of months ago, I was visiting a friend in the area, and that was one of the cars that he just picked up for his collection,
yeah.
in black. All right, so 95 to 98 Volkswagen Golf GTI, the VR6.
Yeah, specifically the VR6 engine one. And I mean, the VR6 engine, this was the first application of it in the GTI, which is of course they offset the cylinders 15 degrees. So it's a V engine, but it's only 15 degrees between the banks. So you could mount the engine transversely because it's about the same length as a four cylinder, but it has twice the cylinders and therefore about a third more displacement. And so that was a big deal. And these things sound terrific. Have you ever heard what they say these sound like? They say they sound like the Wookiees. They call them Wookiee or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I had never heard that till the guy was telling me about it.
Yeah, I used to have a neighbor that had one of these. Did a lot of work on it,
Yeah,
but
the interesting thing when these came out, I remember I was so excited for these. I couldn't because I've had many GTIs. They're probably one of my favorite cars. And then I drove it. I was so like let down. I mean, the engine was great. The transmission's really fun, but the car just rolled and it had none of the sharpness that I expected out of a GTI. And what happened was the American product planners, they were afraid that the European suspension tuning of the GTI was too stiff for our crummy roads. So what we got here in America was basically the luxury spec suspension, which is of course a lot softer, and it was too soft. So this guy who owned this car, first thing he did was, he changed the suspension, he put the right coil over, so he sort of restored that back in it. But that's something I always tell people I would do before I buy one of these cars. But the fascinating thing about these cars is since 2020, the number two value, that's like super nice car, is up 100%. So it's doubled in price
yeah.
in 5 years.
But another example of just like any of these cars on the list, if you're just getting into something like this for the first time, it
This is a good one.
it always helps to talk to somebody first, right? Talk to people
Yeah.
that own them, get on a couple of the groups, or the forums or whatever, and talk to some people about it.
The engine's really fun. It sounds really great. You could also get it in the Passat, the GLX,
Okay.
which was this really weird one they didn't make for very long. Those are like they all melted. Nobody kept them, but 20 to 30 grand gets you the nicest one of these in the world.
Yeah.
And that would be a great buy. A great buy, a fantastic buy. Really
100%.
entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this is the last one on our list. This is the 2004 to 2007 Porsche Carrera GT. Obviously not $20,000, but um,
A little bit more. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit more. Uh, but a very cool car, a very interesting car.
Amazing car. Yeah. So you
Uh,
remember, right, that when the
yeah,
Carrera GT came out, it was Porsche's like really first supercar. Before that, it was a version of the 911. And I think they made about 1,500 of these, and they didn't sell.
right.
Do you remember that part? It's
Yeah,
kind of
I remember when it came out, and Adam Kroll and I were doing a podcast at the studio, and somebody, we were having the cars coming over, we were doing featured cars and stuff, and somebody brought one of these on, and uh, it was a little tough to like get it into the driveway. It doesn't have like the front axle nose lift that a
no,
lot of the supercars have, and great sound and 10 cylinder, and excuse me, the wooden shift knob, and it had some cool things into it. But you were like, wow, I can't believe this is a Porsche.
yeah, incredible car. I mean, there's different stories about where the V10 came out. It was a stillborn F1 engine, or it was a version of the eight cylinder they ran up. I can't remember exact spec, but the fun thing about this car, or one of the things that's really well known for, is the clutch is really tricky. And that's because they wanted to mount the engine as low and as possible. So they used a multi-disc clutch that I think is about 6 inches in diameter. Most clutches are anywhere from 12 to
Yeah.
15 inches. So that's why they can mount the engine lower to dry sump, and they are tricky to get going, but once they go, there's a fluidity and speed and ease to these things that they just belies what you hear on the internet. There's another one of those Widowmaker cars. Everybody says it'll kill you.
Yeah.
I tested these things like all over the place. I did lane changes, skid pad, everything. They're a mid-engine car. Like, yeah, once they go, NSXs are the same way. If you get the tail going back and forth, at some point it could snap. So you have to stay on top of it. But I never found them to be like that evil. Um, but they're super exciting. You know, the sound, you can go to the YouTube channel, Hagerty YouTube channel, and you can watch the video, you can hear it. It's one of the best sounding cars ever made. And I find it funny, Matt, like this car, the LFA, the
Yeah.
918, like when they were new, they did not sell that well. And actually, the original Ford GT, right, the '04, same thing.
Yeah.
They went down to like 110 grand. And then something happens, 5 years, 10 years goes by, and everybody's like, whoa, where's this thing been all my life? Holy cow. And now they're worth, the Carrera GTs are worth $1.5 million.
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago where cars were still like they were expensive when they came out, and then they would drop down to like used car prices as we would
Yep.
consider it. And then eventually start creeping its way back up. And sometimes that process took 30 years, you know.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's like a lot of car manufacturers, not even just the highest end brands, but car manufacturers are going, no, 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 we're going after some residual value. We're going after some limited edition versions of these cars, and we
Yeah.
want these cars to be worth some money. You know, a company like Aston Martin, which those cars usually tank in value, but Aston Martin is really just going after like, oh, we need to do a limited version of this and a limited version of this, and it just can't be like a trim level. Like we need to make 9 of these roadsters, and we need to
Mhm.
make, you know,
Yeah.
and even if they're not big in the press, and even if they're not trading hands a lot, like they they are keeping their
Yeah.
value up there. And I think a car like this, like we're done with it, you know. So like if Porsche comes out with another supercar, like the Mustang GTD, I think is a good example. People are like, "Oh, this is interesting. It's not a Ford GT. Where's it going to go?" I go up. That's where it's going to go. Like
I think
I
so
think
too.
that thing is going to go up. People going, "Oh, should I spend $600,000, $400,000 or whatever?" It's like 325 or something with options. Maybe it's 400 change.
Yep.
Should I spend $400,000 on a Mustang? Now, if you have the money, yes. You should, because it's going to go up. And by the way, that car is fun as shit to drive.
Yeah, I heard, I don't know if this is true, I haven't fact checked it, but I heard that Porsche sells more special editions of the 911 than they do the 911.
Yeah. You
Because
know
I,
what?
I I think we might be under special edition fatigue.
We might be. We might be for sure. And look, and not all of them will be great. Not everybody's like limited special edition car will be great. But I think there's some interesting things there for sure.
But the Carrera GT, it's still what they call analog car. It's a stick shift in an automatic world. It has that very unique special V10 engine that's not muffled by twin turbos like so much of it is today. It went over 200 miles an hour, 0
Yeah.
to 60 in 300. No stability control. It's all about driver feel. I mean, this is a exciting car that gets your heart rate up.
Yeah.
And it was only 450,000 new, and now they're worth about 1.5 million. But there's nothing for sale like it anymore
Right.
that's anywhere near the cost of this thing. So that's why we think it's just going to keep going up.
And you'll never get anything that analog again unless you're going to one of the, like if
Yeah,
you're
the
going to like
T50, the
Singer or
Gordon
something
Murray kind
like
of
that,
thing.
like
Yeah.
yeah, or like maybe a GMA car or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, and thanks for going through the whole bull market list. I hope your listeners appreciate it and they go check it out. And maybe through previous years, they can find something they like. It's a significant, you buy a fun car, it's a significant chunk of money that you're putting in something. So we're trying to help people make sure they're doing it or making smart decisions.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're after. So I appreciate you giving us the voice to do it. The one thing I was wondering about that came to mind was I kind of think the scrapping of cafe regulations, I'm sort of excited to see what might come next.
Yeah.
If you unshackle the engineers and the product planners and they don't have all these weird little unintended consequences to fill, maybe the analog stuff will come back because, there's still the Miata, there's the GR Corolla, there's the BRZ, Subaru, still some fun cars out. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
driven the Mustang Dark Horse. That car's fantastic. I love those
I've driven
things.
the Dark Horse. It's great. I've driven the GTD.
Yeah.
It's great. And you're right. I think maybe we'll start to see some of that. I mean, there's also just been sort of a correction. I don't want to say correction in the market, but just sort of a correction in the anticipated demand for EV on
Mm.
behalf of the manufacturers. The manufacturers are going, there's a place for EV, but it may not be 100% of the future.
It's going
So
to be slow.
now we need to start looking at what does that mean? Now, for a lot of car companies, this is a multi-billion dollar mistake, or if you
Yeah.
will, or a, just sort of a
Or an investment that's not going to pay off.
right. It was just sort of a uh, you're right. It was a vision for the future that might not quite be there yet. You
Yeah,
know,
I've been seeing signs that, on one hand, we've been told, not we've been told, but it suggests the trend lines that we're not going to be driving anymore because autonomous cars are going to taking over. I remember 6, 7, 8 years ago, even Bob Lutz was saying, say goodbye.
yeah,
By 2030, you ain't driving. Well, okay, we think that's gone. And then I look at, what the automotive passion, what's happening to it, it's only growing. And the only thing I have to really say that is if you think about the number of real enthusiasts running car companies and then the number of factory involvement in IMSA sports car racing, it's over a dozen
yeah.
factory teams in different levels. 5 years ago, those of us who love road racing never would even dared hope for this outcome. And now they're all there at the Daytona, 24 hours. It's amazing.
I
So they must be getting something out of it.
and to your point, it's not slowing down. Ford's investment in racing, in all forms of racing,
Yeah.
Genesis moving into racing. Genesis is like
Genesis.
we need to do, we they're kind of like emulating what Audi was doing. It's like we're going to make some very interesting cars. We're going to make some high performance versions. Now we're going to make
Yep.
some racing cars and have that try to that education trickle down to
Sure.
our new Magma line of performance cars. I
Yep.
mean, AMG, BMW, M's, cars and
Hyundai ends, which I love
just
that.
like why not go after that? Why not try to emulate it? And especially for them, for the Hyundai, Genesis, Kia family, um, they're selling cars. They're doing well. They're making money. So
Yeah.
now is the time for them to go. Maybe we invest some of that money into like racing programs and high performance vehicles and some new Halo cars. And now that we sort of made those brands cool. You would
Yep.
go, do I want a Hyundai? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, do you want a Hyundai Ioniq 5N? Like, yes, I do.
Yeah. I'm just hoping that there's more of a business case to serve enthusiasts,
Yeah.
right? Because the Charger's going to come back with a gas engine. Maybe the Camaro will come back. Maybe. I haven't heard anything, but boy, it'd
I
be great. We have a Corvette ZR1 that's like 1,064 horsepower. I mean,
yeah.
we're in this golden age. We just needed to trickle down to sort of more affordable cars for the rest of us.
Yes, we do. And I was just doing the podcast earlier about I just spent a week driving a Hyundai Palisade
Oh, that's a really
and
terrific
I'm like,
SUV. Yeah.
this thing is gorgeous. It
Yeah.
exudes Range Rover, goodness,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the hybrid version, good gas mileage and looks good. And it's the calligraphy version with all the options, 60 grand. I'm like, oh my God. For a three
Yeah.
row SUV with that gorgeous interior, it's like
Yeah.
you're getting a lot of car for the money, and you
Oh,
don't need to spend 60 grand on it. That's their nicest version.
yeah. I
So
mean,
there is some interesting stuff
the
there.
the new car that surprised me the most was a rental, and I rented a new Toyota Camry. It had like 500 miles on it. I was like, wow, this thing is quiet, it's tight, it's roomy, and I checked the sticker. It was $32,000. I was
Yeah.
like, I think I got 40 miles of the gallon while I drove it. Amazing car,
It's
amazing.
interesting you said that because I've got like an Arizona road trip planned for the holidays,
Yeah,
and listen, I love the car manufacturers. They've been great to us over the last decade and a half. We could pretty much call and go, you know what we haven't driven yet. Let's drive this. Let's drive that, and get pretty
yeah,
much anything out there. Um,
sure.
I asked for a Honda Civic Hybrid
They're great.
because you talk about a car bang for the buck, great gas mileage, um,
Absolutely.
$30,000 ish range,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I want to road trip that car,
Yep.
like I'm driving I'm going to get a Land Rover Defender before that.
Yeah.
But for the trip, I was like, no, no, no. I want like the Civic sedan. I think it'll do 47 miles to the gallon. The Civic
The hybrid
sedan
version.
hybrid version,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyway, um,
There's a lot of good stuff out there. And you don't, I mean, that's why I'm surprised how expensive the average new car is, $48,000, because
I know it's insane.
we think of the cars from the Maverick to the Civic to the Camry to there's probably more even the Corolla that we're missing. And oh, the Chevy Trax is a pretty nice little car too.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to spend crazy amounts of money on your car.
Even on the EV side, Chevy Equinox you can get for less than that
Yeah.
$50,000 mark. That's, you can get that in the 30s. But um, Larry, thanks so much. Before we wrap up, what's next on the docket for Hagerty for you guys?
I mean, as we go into the new year, we always think about like, okay, what do we think is the big thing? A big thing for us is, we love history, we love special cars, we love so the 250th anniversary of the United States, which is happening next summer, is a big kind of focus for us. We're trying to figure out how to tell our stories around that milestone. And there's so many characters that are so interesting in the
Yeah.
automotive space, from James Packard to Louis Chevrolet to Durant to Henry Ford,
Yeah.
and just
Tucker.
trying to figure, yeah, how to tell them Shelby. I mean, it's just a million. And so, what we try and do is find the stories that haven't been told yet, and bring that stuff to light. So that's kind of what one of our focuses is for sure, and it's been super fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, definitely keep in touch. We'll have to have you back
Yeah,
on, maybe with a little less time in between.
yeah, anytime, Matt. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, and everybody have a great holiday as well. And until next time, keep the air in the spare and the bag in the wheel.